Okay, Unit 3 starts our Systems of Equations unit. So we're going to start by looking at some graphing, just some review, and move right into solving systems, which the first lesson is also review for you. Okay, so let's talk about horizontal and vertical lines. This is when there's only one variable in the equation. So the HOY, HOY, that stands for horizontal. And it has 0 slope. And the equation starts with a y. It doesn't have an x, but it starts with a y. And so we would graph y equals -3. We put a dot at -3, and then the line that crosses that. So right there. Okay, so vertical is called undefined slope. And that is an x equals. It doesn't have a y in the equation, it's x equals. So in this case, x equals 5. So we put a dot on the x at 5, and you draw the line that crosses it. Okay, in a system of equations, that means 2 or more equations, we are looking for the point where they intersect. And in this case, remember this is an x, this is a y. So it crosses at 5 on the x, -3 on the y. Okay, so let's look at a couple more of these. Let's change our pen color out here. Okay, x equals 4. So we put a dot on the x-axis at 4. Draw the line in. Okay, y equals 2. So we put a dot at 2 on the y-axis. Now notice neither one of those had an x or a y in the opposite equation. And we want the solution where they intersect. So it's 4 on the x, 2 on the y. Okay, on this one, x is at -3. And y is at -5. And they intersect right here with a solution of -3, -5. So make sure that when you write, so this is the solution, make sure that you always give the solution in a system of equations, because that's the actual answer. Okay, well those were special kinds. So now we're going to look at the regular type of graphing that we've been doing. So this first equation looks like we're going to need to solve both of these for y. So let's take this first equation. We'll have to add x to both sides. So 2y equals x minus 6 divided by 2. So y equals, remember this is invisible 1, so 1/2 x, and -6 divided by 2 is -3. So this is graphing from the last unit. We start at -3. We go positive slope, up 1 over 2, up 1 over 2, or we could go down 1, backwards 2, and it fits the same pattern. So let's solve this one for y. Subtract 3x. So 2y equals -3x plus 2. Divide everything by 2. Y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 1. So we start at 1. It has a negative slope. It goes down 3 over 2, down 3 over 2. And it intersects right here at 2 on the x, negative 2 on the y. Okay, let's pick a different color this time. Okay, so we have to solve this one for y, so we'll subtract 2x from both sides. So 3y equals negative 2x plus 9. Divide everything by 3. So y equals negative 2/3 x plus 3. So we start at 3. It's a negative slope. It goes down 2 over 3, or up 2 backwards 3. And draw your line in. And let's try some Christmas colors here. This one is x equals 3. Now remember, there's no y. And so when there's no y, we put a dot at 3. Draw the line straight down. And here's where they intersect. That is at 3 on the x, 1 on the y. Okay, on this next set, it's already solved for y for us, which is nice. So we are going to start at 5 on this first one. And it has a positive slope. And it needs to go up 7 over 3, up 7 over 3. But we can't go up 7. We have to go down 7, backwards 3. Now the next one is x is at negative 3, so put a dot at negative 3 in the x and draw the vertical line through that. So these two intersect, and I know I didn't draw it very well, but they intersect right here, which is at negative 3, negative 2. Okay, I want you to pause the video and try the next one on your own. I'm going to go ahead and work the next one out, and when you're ready, push play and see if you got it right. Okay, we'll start at negative 4. It's a positive slope. It goes up 5 over 2. And this one starts at 3, and it has a negative slope. Now, it doesn't have a number in front of it, but we know that that's 1 over 1. So it goes down 1 over 1, down 1 over 1, and so on. And they intersect right here, which is 2, 1. All right, I hope you got that one right. Okay, so now we're going to look at solving by substitution. Now this is also review for you. This is something that you guys talked about in middle school math. So the idea of substitution is that hopefully something is already solved for x or solved for y or is close. So in this case, x equals 5y plus 1. We are going to substitute it into the x. So there's a negative sign, and the x gets a parentheses. So the x becomes 5y plus 1, and then we'll write down what's left, 9y equals negative 5. So we have to distribute this negative, so we get negative 5y minus 1 plus 9y equals negative 5. Add our like terms, so 4y minus 1 equals negative 5. So you have to add 1 to both sides. 4y equals negative 4. Divide by 4. Y is negative 1. Now we aren't finished. We have to take this and plug it back into this equation. So x equals 5 times y, which is now negative 1, plus 1. So x equals negative 5 plus 1. X is negative 4. Now remember how I told you these are coordinates, so you have to write the final answer as a coordinate. Okay, this next one also looks a little funny. They're both solved for y. That's okay, we're still going to substitute. So we're going to take this y and substitute it in for the first y. So 3 equals 2/3 x minus 1. So we will add 1 to both sides. So 4 equals 2/3 x. And we know that when there's a fraction in front of the variable, we need to take it times the reciprocal of 3 over 2. That cancels, and that leaves me x equal to 6. Now there's nothing to substitute back in because we already know that y is 3. So the answer is 6, 3. Okay, on this next problem, nothing is solved for x or y. But if I simply divided both sides by 4, then x would equal 4. And then I could take that information and substitute it in for the x. So then I would have 7 times 4 plus 4y equals 24. So 28 plus 4y equals 24. Subtract 28 from both sides. 4y equals negative 4. Divide both sides by 4, and y equals negative 1. So the answer is always a coordinate, 4, negative 1. Okay, this last one's a little bit ugly, has some fractions, but I want to work this next one out because I want you to see that even though the answers are in fractions, it can still be done. So once again, they're both solved for y, so we're going to substitute that in there. So we get negative 1/3 x plus 7 equals 3/5 x minus 5. Letters to the left, so we're going to say minus 3/5 x from both sides. Now, you know I recommend that you use fraction or use calculators when you're working with these fractions. So that should be a negative 14 over 15x plus 7 equals negative 5. Subtract 7 from both sides, so negative 14x over 15 equals negative 12. Then we need to take both sides times the reciprocal of 15 over 14 negative. And x equals negative 90 over 7. Like I said, I would use a calculator if I were you. Now it's ugly. It's okay that it's ugly. You can take this x and you can substitute it anywhere you would like to substitute it. I'm going to put it back into this equation. So that means y equals negative 1/3 times negative 90 over 7 plus 7. So if you take negative 1/3 times negative 90 over 7, how about a positive 90 over 7? Because I missed both of my signs, so let's make that a positive. So negative 1/3 times positive 90 over 7 would be negative 30 over 7 plus 7. Using your calculator again, y is going to be 19 over 7. So even though the answer is super ugly, you get 90 over 7 and 19 over 7. That should be your answer. Okay, as always, you're going to do the odds for the new problems, and you're going to do all of the review. And since we are starting a new unit, try to stay up. You need to watch a video every single night, and that way we can work on our practice problems in class.